The 10 most underrated slasher movie villains. No good slasher film is complete without a memorable and formidable villain to bring the scares and sometimes the laughs. However, with so many great slasher films out there, it is only inevitable for some villains to be overlooked. Whether because of language barriers, limited distribution, or simply being overshadowed by flashier film series, many slasher films containing excellent antagonists have gained relatively little attention in the States, leading to many of these characters missing out on their deserved status as horror icons. Taking into account originality, memorability, and scare factor, these are the most underrated slasher movie villains. Hello everyone, we would appreciate it if you like our videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel in case you haven't subscribed so far. Thank you again. Number 10. Leslie Vernon. Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon is a 2006 satirical slasher film written and directed by Scott Glosserman. Set in a world in which slasher films are real historical events, the film follows a documentation making a film about Leslie Vernon, a man who is determined to become the next great slasher villain. Although he claims to be on a revenge quest against the townspeople who tried to kill him as a child, Leslie is, in fact, just aiming to kill innocent students to create a legacy. Concealing his face with a highly memorable mask, Leslie Vernon is one of horror's most subversive and underrated villains. Number 9. Irving Wallace. Stage Fright is a relatively obscure 1987 Italian slasher film directed by Michael Soavi. The film is set in a theater as a cast rehearses a play centered on a murder, only to be surprised by a real killer infiltrating the theater. The film's killer is Irving Wallace, a former actor who killed his colleagues and begins the film incarcerated in a psychiatric institution. However, he escapes by killing a member of the hospital staff and hiding in the car of an actress named Betty, who unwittingly transports him into the theater. Like Stage Fright itself, Irving Wallace is highly underrated and deserves more love, if only because of his incredible mask.
Behind every curtain, someone.
Number 8. The Hag. Curtains is a 1983 Canadian slasher film directed by Richard Chupka, who disowned the project prior to release due to creative differences with producer Peter R. Simpson. The film's antagonist is the Hag, a mysterious woman in a mask who kills actresses who are competing for the same part as her at an audition. Motivated by jealousy and desperation, the killer symbolizes many of the film's most crucial themes, with her mask representing aging and the perils of becoming too absorbed by an acting career. Although Curtains itself is a fairly messy film, The Hag is an excellent and underrated slasher villain.
The 1957 Hamilton High Prom Queen.
Number 7. Mary Lou Maloney. Mary Lou Maloney is the antagonist of the eponymous Canadian supernatural slasher Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2. Follows the vengeful ghost of a 1950s prom queen who returns 30 years later to terrorize her high school and reclaim her crown. Mary Lou was killed on stage at her prom when a smoke bomb accident sets her on fire, turning her into an angry spirit who haunts and eventually possesses 80s high schooler Vicky, picking off the competition for the prom queen title and seeking revenge on those she feels wronged her. Although a box office disappointment, Mary Lou Prom Night 2 has since become a cult classic among fans of 80s horror, cementing the titular queen as one of the best horror villains in many people's eyes. Number 6. Victor Crowley. Victor Crowley is the central antagonist of Adam Green's Hatchet series. Crowley is an undead and vengeful killer who haunts a New Orleans swamp, attacking anyone who crosses his path. His backstory is tragic, having been a deformed child isolated from society in a shack before falling victim to a house fire started by local teenagers. To make things even worse, Crowley was finally killed by his father accidentally striking him in the head with the titular hatchet while attempting to rescue him. The hatchet films succeed due to their retro slasher aesthetic and atmospheres, and Victor Crowley is a classic feeling villain. Number 5. Pumpkinhead. First appearing in Stan Winston's 1988 supernatural slasher film of the same name, Pumpkinhead is a tall, grotesque, demonic creature that, when dormant, lies buried in a pumpkin patch. However, when unearthed and conjured through an occult ritual, Pumpkinhead comes to life and enacts brutal revenge on whoever has wronged the person who performed the ritual, creating a psychic and physical link with the person who summoned him. Pumpkinhead forces them to experience agonizing visions of the mayhem caused, providing the audience with a cautionary tale about seeking revenge.
Phantasm.
Number 4. Tall Man. The Tall Man is the principal antagonist for the bizarre and borderline incomprehensible phantasm sci-fi horror series created by Don Coscarelli. Previously an ordinary mortician from the 1800s named Jubediah Morningside, he's revealed to have become the villainous Tall Man after traveling through a portal to other worlds and returning without his morality and with a strong desire to dominate the living and the dead. He rarely speaks, preferring to communicate with his trademark eyebrow raised, executed with perfect menace by the late great Angus Scrimm. Surprisingly Lovecraftian for a slasher film antagonist due to his cosmic backstory, the Tall Man is a unique villain who deserves far more recognition.
Quem sou eu? Não interessa.
Number 3. Coffin Joe or Zido Cayaho. First appearing in the underrated Brazilian 1964 horror film At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul, Zido Cayaho, or Coffin Joe in English markets, is Brazil's most iconic horror character. Portrayed by writer and director Jose Mojica Marins, Coffin Joe is an undertaker in a small religious community who clashes with his fellow townspeople due to his persistent blasphemy against the church and his embrace of Nietzsche's ideals. Coffin Joe's primary goal is the securing of his bloodline by having a child with the perfect woman by any means necessary, restoring to abuse, assault, and murder whenever he encounters obstacles. Although famous in his native Brazil, the terrifying Coffin Joe is relatively obscure on an international level.
After more than a decade of silence, he has come out of hiding.
Number 2. Chop Top Sawyer. The twin brother of the hitchhiker from the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, Robert Chop Top Sawyer, is one of the main antagonists of Tobe Hooper's darkly comedic 1986 slasher film The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Chop Top is characterized as a bizarre and off-putting cannibal hippie prone to eating parts of his scalp due to having a metal plate in his head, while his brother Leatherface develops a fondness for and attraction to the protagonist Stretch. Chop Top remains antagonistic, culminating in a climactic mountainside fight between the two of them. The greatest highlights of a highly entertaining slasher sequel, Chop Top has everything to be a slasher icon.
The search for the fugitives known as the Devil's Rejects.
Howdy, folks. Have uncovered reads like this. Words can't describe it.
And number 1, The Firefly Family. First featured in 2003's House of 1000 Corpses and going on to star in The Devil's Rejects and Three from Hell, The Firefly Family is a group of serial killers created by iconic horror filmmaker Rob Zombie. While these antagonists consist of a full family unit, the most prominent in the trilogy are the energetic and unpredictable baby Firefly, the sadistic and Charles Manson-esque Otis Driftwood, and the aggressive clone makeup-wearing family patriarch Captain Spaulding. taking inspiration from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre's Sawyer family but remaining unique, the Firefly family are the most underrated slasher villains of all time.